Welcome to the Handful of Leaves podcast. Hi, it's me, Cheryl, your host today. And with me, I have someone very cool, Brother Lim Kooi Fong, who is the founder of NORBU AI. What is NORBU AI, you may ask? It is actually a Buddhist AI chatbot. And he's here to share with us the behind the scenes, what inspired him to even kickstart a Buddhist AI chatbot. So, hi, Brother Kooi Fong. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Sister Cheryl. Good to see you and good to know a handful of leaves. First time I've heard of it. I'm so glad to be here today. Thank you for the invitation. All I can remember is just one line from Dalai Lama. Towards the end of his keynote address, he said, "We must preserve the Nalanda tradition." Tibetan Buddhism is very grateful to the Nalanda tradition because without that school in the 12th century, Tibetan Buddhism would not have existed. Then he said, not only must we preserve the Nalanda tradition, we must bring it outside of India to make it more widespread. As I came back from India, that particular sentence kept on playing again and again in my head. It was so strange. I was supposed to stay 2 nights in New Delhi, but the conference organizer made a mistake. One of the organizers arranged for me to stay in Swan Mok Center in Bangkok. When I went to the Theravada Buddhist Center, suddenly I saw one Tangka, Tibetan art. I was fascinated. I said, this is the first time I've been to a Buddhist center, and there is a Tibetan Tangka hanging. It's very big, very prominent. Now, it seems to be totally unrelated. This picture of the Tangka and what happened in India about the Nalanda tradition. But that painting also made an impression on me, as though like I cannot forget it after seeing it. Now, after coming back to KL, I started researching on Nalanda tradition because it disturbed me so much. I had to research more on it. Okay, I found out the Nalanda tradition actually is about learning Dhamma through debate. How Mahayana Buddhism and Tibetan Buddhism became so rich with Buddhist teachings was during that time in the 12th century in the Nalanda University. Monks from all over the world gathered there and started discussing Dhamma. And there are some very famous teachers, like Atisha from Sumatra, who actually learned Sanskrit and Buddhism in Nalanda University. And they were debating. They were looking at the teachings and then trying to understand it. One of the famous students of Nalanda tradition was Xuanzang, the pilgrim from China. He went there and translated the transcript of Buddhist teachings in Sanskrit into Chinese and brought back to China. And from there, Buddhism in China grew. And thankfully, because of him, Buddhism got out of India and became a world religion. Xuanzang is very important. And he is a product of the Nalanda tradition. That's where I realized debating is so important.
I can start to see how NORBU starts to take form
Exactly.
as well. So NORBU is your way to make Dhamma more conversational, to help people to think and have someone to spar with in case they don't have.
I released the so-called beta version, first round, among my friends. One by one came back to me. He said, what have you done? This is amazing. Then somehow or other, they started sharing with friends here and there. And people that I don't even know started using it. And that's where it gets more interesting. People say, I have a lot of sexual lust. My lust is very strong. That leads to masturbation, example. And then they say, I have the urge to do this a lot. Is it breaking the precept or not? Now, when that question came up, then I realized, okay, I have to give a caveat. I do not know your name. I only know your question. And every question asked is saved in the backend. I can see all the questions, but I don't know who asked.
What are for other data that you collect? So only the questions asked?
Only questions. Questions asked. I don't collect any other data because respect privacy of the individual. So when I saw the question, then I realized, okay, people would never go to a monk and ask this question. People would never go to a Buddhist counselor and ask this question. People would never ask a friend about this. Imagine Buddhists are asking this kind of thing, But then I realized this is not one, no, for many questions about failed relationships, liking a girl don't like back, and urge to cheat in exams, for instance. They were asking these sort of questions. Then I realized Buddhists are human beings, but these people are not releasing their frustration, their irritation, their problems in temples or to other Buddhists, simply because they will lose face or feel shame.
But and NORBU is so important because it provides that safe space for people to ask whatever they want, and truly without judgment.
Exactly. Now, the interesting part came. You have a problem like this. First, ask the person to acknowledge the problem. Don't hide. Don't push it away. Acknowledge it's an issue. Then, the NORBU always a tendency is always like that, to look at yourself with a clear mind. Why are you doing this, number one? Number two, if you do this all the time, what is the impact? Are you going to hurt yourself and are you going to hurt other people? If you answer yes to these two questions, what are you going to do about it? Okay? Usually it's like that. So problem-solving process, and the NORBU asks the person to reflect back and this kind of thing. Then, interestingly, NORBU start to insert Dhamma teachings, mindfulness. Then they'll say, how do you get out of this? Practice contemplation, maybe through a meditation technique. Seek counseling. Go visit a teacher. Now, all of a sudden, you have an avenue to release your hidden negative tendencies to some bot who is willing to listen to you, and at the same time, suddenly dispensing good advice. Not only that, insert with Dhamma teachings. I have never seen this before in my life. Now, one more thing that we did in the general instruction of NORBU, we said, in every conversation, please apply 4 principles of the Brahma Vihara: compassion, loving kindness, equanimity, altruistic joy. You must apply these 4 qualities in all your conversations. There is no space at all for hatred and violent language, because we want the bot to be kind, patient, and non-violent.
Data sources is one of the most important reasons for the responses that are coming out. How do you ensure that there's no bias? Because you could be, limited to the Theravada view. Someone with a Mahayana training could completely disagree with you.
The source data have 3 criteria. It has to be accurate, it has to be right, and it has to be verified. Right? Now, what you mean by right, accurate, and verified? Central is considered right and accurate and verified content, because all the suttas that is been translated and hosted on Sutta Central is also discussed by this website called Dhamma Wheel. It's kind of a forum, discuss suttas on, The discussions, they will rectify any wrong translations, and then they update Sutta Central or even update on access to insight. These websites have been around for 20 years. Many people are using it. So similarly with the Mahayana Suttas and also with the Tibetan Suttas, we have to look at the verified ones. That's why the team that look at this source data has to be very, not from one school. I am from the Theravada school, but I have a team member who is from the Tibetan Buddhist school. And for the Mahayana one, we are actually working with a group from Taiwan, cbeta.org. They are translating classical Chinese into conversational Chinese of all the Chinese Buddhism sutras. Start by asking things that you do every day. You wear pants, which leg go in first, left leg or right leg go into your pant first? Ask this basic question, because you'll be surprised how NORBU will answer you. Because at the end of the day, he's saying, if you're not aware of even this basic thing, that means you have not been applying the mindfulness. It's not about forcing yourself to learn Dhamma. It's about being aware of what you're doing every day, or not aware at all of what you do every day. What is that thing that you do every day? And be curious about it. That is your starting point for building awareness. Because without that awareness, without that mindfulness, we miss out so many things. We take for granted so many things until we find that magic is lost in certain relationships. Maybe we lost an opportunity to learn new things because we are just blurred, we are not sharp. We just go through the motion of life. Buddha, you can use NORBU as a habit Buddha. Don't think about Buddhism, don't think about Dhamma, don't think about NORBU. Just think about yourself and then be curious about what you're doing every day. If you cannot figure out, you ask NORBU and see what happens. I think that's about it. We really can't force people to change. But if the NORBU is able to kind of waken up people to their mindfulness, to their awareness, I think it has done this job. Yeah. The world can only change if people change themselves. When the ground moves, the earth will shake. If nobody's walk and the ground doesn't move, nothing will happen. You see? So great things happen not because it happens, but because people take action. So I guess we just do lah. We just deliver the tool, release it. How people use it is up to them. And if it's good, well and done. Okay. If it's no good, we try. But we don't try, we will never know. If we never know, we will never learn. So everything is not wasted. To me, it answered that one question. Why I got stuck with Nalanda tradition during Dalai Lama's talk in April. It answered my question about the Tanka in the Theravada Buddhist Center. And because those two were pushing me to sort out my life by building a NORBU. People think that NORBU is a Tibetan name. But NORBU is actually neuro-omniscient robotic being for Buddhist understanding. It's actually an acronym for that, but in Tibetan it means jewel lah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing with us the journey of NORBU. And of course, if our listeners here are curious to learn about NORBU, you can go and type norbu-ai.org and you can find this chatbot. So feel free to support them. We'll see you in our next episode. Stay happy and wise.